Welcome back. All right, so in a career video today, I'm going to talk about Joe Thornton. Now, Joe Thornton technically hasn't retired, but he didn't play this year. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say that at age 43, I believe he's still 43, that his career's probably done. There's been talk of him ending up in a management role within the San Jose organization. That'll probably happen in the offseason. He's already been, he's at their games. And it's understandable, and obviously I'd wear Sharks for this, even though I do have a Joe Thornton Boston jersey. I thought I can't wear Boston for this because that was an ugly divorce at the time that happened. So also I took a look. I did do a video on Joe Thornton about 3 years ago, but it wasn't year by year like this. I think I decided not to. And you can see on this board that it's a long career. He's drafted first overall in 1997. And at the time, the Boston Bruins management, I had some issues with it. And I had issues with Boston's management throughout the time that Thornton's there. And if you talk about issues with management in Boston, well, you can ask Adam Oates. Adam Oates got traded out in part because he wasn't happy about the way things were being managed in Boston. They basically just, if you're not happy here, we'll move you somewhere else, and they trade the player out. So his first year is 97-98. He plays 55 games, 3 goals, 4 assists, 7 points. And I heard Bus talk back then, but reality was he wasn't getting very much ice time. He adds 6 games in the playoffs, doesn't get a point there. And then in 98-99, his second year, he finally starts getting some ice time. So when people talk about rookies not getting ice time now, I think back to Thornton's first year. I think back to Owen Nolan's first year, and it's just kind of that's the way it works many, many times. 81 games played that second year, 16 goals, 25 assists, 41 points. In the playoffs, he adds 3 goals, 6 assists for 9 points in 11 games. 99-2000, his play keeps getting better. 81 games played, 23 goals, 37 assists, 60 points. So he's not a huge goal producer, but he is a point producer, and the points are going up. Now, the following season, the goals are there. 2000-2001 in 72 games, 37 goals, 34 assists, 71 points. So, again, his numbers are getting better. That ends up being the most goals that he scores in a season in his entire career. And so, yeah, I mean, that's a pretty big deal there, right? So 2001-2002, he only played 66 games that year. 22 goals, 46 assists, 68 points. His first season above a point per game in the National Hockey League. He adds 2 goals, 4 assists for 6 points in 6 games, and he plays in the All-Star game. So the Boston Bruins, who are flirting with respectability and being one of the better teams, Thornton is a big part of that. In 2002-2003, he plays 77 games in Boston, 36 goals, so almost ties that 37. 65 assists, which is second overall in the NHL that year. 101 points, which is third overall in the NHL that year. And in the playoffs, a goal, 2 assists for 3 points in 5 games. Plays in the All-Star game? Yep. Second team All-Star? Yep. He's fourth in Hart voting, and he's named team captain that year. So he becomes the captain of the Bruins. Things are going well. 2003-2004, 77 games. His numbers drop, though, outside of that. 23 goals, 50 assists for 73 points. No points in 7 playoff games. So things between Thornton and the Bruins aren't rosy at this point. He's not happy with the way management's doing things, and management's not happy with him not elevating his play in the big games. The belief that we need somebody who's going to take that next step in the playoffs, and it's something that would follow Thornton throughout his career. So 04-05 comes and goes. He plays over in Europe, has a good time for himself, comes back over in 05-06. Has a really strong start to the season for Boston. 23 games, 9 goals, 24 assists, 33 points. On November the 30th, he's traded. Boston's in last place at the time, so is San Jose. Things have to change. And Thornton, after criticizing management, was the obvious guy to trade out if you're Boston, right? Well, you criticize management, and you're out. So he's traded, but what's interesting about this is he's traded to San Jose, and immediately after this trade happens, there were other GMs that came forward and said, we didn't know he was available. If we'd known, we would have offered more. We could have offered a better package than what Boston got for him. So basically, Boston makes a deal with San Jose for Wayne Primo, Brad Stewart, and Marco Sturm. And, I mean, these 3 players all played a role with Boston, but was it worth losing Joe Thornton? Not really. Thornton goes on and has a fantastic run with San Jose after that. But general manager at the time, Mike O'Connell, when he was asked in 2011 about the the trading of Joe Thornton, says, yeah, I would do it again because Boston won a Stanley Cup in 2011. But I don't know that it's because of the Joe Thornton trade that they win that Stanley Cup. So I can't add one to the other and say, well, clearly that makes it worthwhile. I remember at the time kind of agreeing like, yeah, it's fine. They traded Thornton, but look at the team. I can't say they wouldn't have won the 2011 Cup if they'd kept Thornton. I just can't. So he goes to San Jose, and the rest is history, right? 58 games played with San Jose, 20 goals, 72 assists. So the combined scoring, 96 assists, 92 points. So that's 115 points altogether. He leads the league there and wins the Art Ross. It is not a standard thing to see a guy play with two different teams and win the Art Ross trophy. He also won the Hart, and he was a first-team All-Star. In the playoffs, 2 goals, 7 assists, 9 points in 11 games. So San Jose, they've got something here. Him and Jonathan Chichu have immediate chemistry. It really helps out Patrick Marleau to have another star player here. 06-07, he builds on that first year, plays all 82 games, 22 goals, 92 assists, which leads the league, 114 points, which is second overall, plays in the All-Star game, and he's fifth in Hart voting. 11 games played in the playoffs, 1 goal, 10 assists, 11 points. So the conversation about whether or not he elevates his game in the playoffs gets started not long after, because it had come from Boston, right? Boston's question about whether or not you're going to be able to rely on him, and O'Connell saying he didn't like him on or off the ice. But at any rate, it works out pretty well for him in San Jose. 07-08, 82 games, 29 goals, so almost 30. 67 assists, which is first overall. 96 points, which is fifth overall. In 13 playoff games, he has 2 goals, 8 assists, 10 points. Plays in the All-Star game, second team All-Star, and sixth in Hart voting. So the question of playoffs is, I think it's a fair one. But at the same time, how many players have we seen come and go in the NHL who are great players who maybe they just don't have a team around them that's good enough to win the cup, and vice versa? How many times have we seen a player that's not a huge star win multiple Stanley Cup rings because he happens to be on a team that's pretty darn good? He may help, but his role is not considered vital. At any rate, 2008-2009 plays all 82 games again, 25 goals, 61 assists, which is seventh overall, and 86 points. In the playoffs, a goal and 4 assists for 5 points in 6 games. He plays in the All-Star game again, and he's ninth in Hart voting. So it's a pretty good track record that he's built for himself here as a scorer, as an elite passer in the National Hockey League. I guess a question that could be asked from that era would be Henrik Sedin or Joe Thornton, who is the more elite passer and why? And I don't think there's a wrong answer between the two. I'm sure there will be those who will say that there is a wrong answer, but for me personally, having watched them, I would say there's not really a wrong answer there. 2009-2010 plays 79 games, gets 20 goals, 69 assists, which is second overall, 89 points, which is eighth overall, and he adds 3 goals, 9 assists for 12 points in 15 games. So again, San Jose playing well and getting far in the playoffs, but not getting that championship, and that would be elusive to Joe Thornton throughout. 2010-2011, 80 games played, 21 goals, 49 assists, which is 10th overall, 70 points. So for the first time in a long time, since 03-04, he falls below the point per game mark. But in the playoffs, 18 games, 3 goals, 14 assists, 17 points. And this is in his first year as captain of the San Jose Sharks. So for Thornton, it's quite the run. They ended up running into the Canucks in the conference final, who would not be denied. And so San Jose was out. It was an entertaining series. I thought Thornton played well. But again, people would just look at, does he have a cup ring? If the answer is no, right? 2011-2012 in 82 games, 18 goals, 59 assists, which is third overall, 77 points. So he bounces back a little there. In the playoffs, 5 games, 2 goals, 3 assists, 5 points. Again, a lot of questions when it comes to San Jose and whether or not they can win in the playoffs. 2012-2013, lockout shortened season, 48 games. He plays all 48 of them. 7 goals, 33 assists, 40 points. In the playoffs, 11 games, 2 goals, 8 assists for 10 points overall in the playoffs that year. So again, they're able to get out of the first round. They're able to do pretty well, but the question of a Stanley Cup is still there. 2013-2014, 82 games, 11 goals, 65 assists, which is second overall in the NHL. 76 points in the playoffs, 2 goals, and an assist for 3 points in 7 games. San Jose, though, kind of getting frustrated with how things are going. They actually stripped him of his captaincy in August of that year. So all the captains lose their designation. And so 2014-2015, did he pout? Nope. 78 games played, 16 goals, 49 assists, which is 7th overall, 65 points. And honestly, the point totals come down, but he bounces back the year after. 2015, 2016, 82 games, 19 goals, 63 assists, which is 2nd overall, 82 points, which is 4th. So consider where we're at right now as I'm recording this. Imagine 4th in the NHL being a guy with 82 points in 82 games. It's not that long ago, and yet there we are. And now that's unthinkable. So in the playoffs, San Jose finally goes all the way to the Stanley Cup final. In 24 games, Thornton with 3 goals, 18 assists, 21 points. And it is his best chance at a Stanley Cup. And in the final, they run into Pittsburgh. It's not something that they can get done. So he's the 2nd team All-Star that year. He's 5th in Hart voting and 5th in Selke voting, which I thought was a little bit overdue. I thought Thornton had been a good two-way forward for a long time. 2016, 2017, we see that drop in the offense, right? So he bounced back in 15-16, but 16-17 it does drop back down. 79 games, 7 goals, 43 assists, 50 points. And in the playoffs, he adds 2 assists in 4 games. As now San Jose is dropping a bit. 2017-2018, 47 games played, 13 goals, 23 assists, 36 points. So if he'd played that full season, we probably would have seen his points totals jump up a little bit. 2018-2019, he plays 73 games that year, 16 goals, 35 assists, 51 points. In the playoffs, he plays 19 games as San Jose goes all the way to the conference final. A little bit of controversy in that run. 4 goals, 6 assists, 10 points. He's part of that controversy, too. He was suspended 1 playoff game for an illegal check to the head on Nosek. Now, there were those who argued it should have been more at the time. I believe I may have been one of the ones who argued it could have and should have probably been more at the time. But that's where we were. And, of course, San Jose, again, ends up falling short. They came up against St. Louis in the conference final, were unable to defeat the St. Louis Blues. Blues go on and win the Cup, and for San Jose, frustration continues. 2019-2020, what would prove to be his final season in San Jose, 70 games, 7 goals, 24 assists, 31 points. The leadership's still there. The finish is not. There's still enough points there that it's still of interest when he becomes a free agent, and, of course, that veteran presence. So October 16th, he's signed by the Toronto Maple Leafs. Ends up playing 44 games in the 2020-2021 season, 5 goals, 15 assists, 20 points. And it was strange. It was strange to see him being a healthy scratch at points. It was strange to see him as basically a support player. In the playoffs, he played all 7 games, just had the 1 goal, no assists there, so he didn't provide that offense in the playoffs. And then the season that we had last year, 2021-2022, for the Florida Panthers, he signed there August 13th, I should say, of that year. 34 games, 5 goals, 5 assists, 10 points. And he only played the 1 playoff game last year. So it is a shame that he bowed out the way that he did. In that, Toronto, he felt like he was going to a contender. They don't get out of the first round. Florida likely feels like, there's a chance to maybe get in with a contender. They do get to the second round. As I said, he only played the 1 playoff game, but that Stanley Cup ring remained elusive. He plays 1,714 games in his career, which is 6th overall all time. 430 goals puts him at 78th, which is remarkable considering he only had, the 2 30-goal seasons. 1,109 assists, which is 7th overall. 1,539 points, which is 12th overall. Plays 187 playoff games, 32 goals, 102 assists, 134 points. And then internationally, he did win those championships. He didn't win in the National Hockey League. 2010, he wins Olympic gold. 2005, he won a silver at the World Championships. 2004 and 2016, it was World Cup gold for him. And in 1997, he got gold at the World Juniors. So he won gold at numerous stops along the way on an international level, could not hold up the Stanley Cup during his playing career. But a really solid career that went on for a very long time, as you can tell by the board. I had to get creative to make it all fit, but I did it. A little bit proud of myself on that one. And there you go. Career of Joe Thornton. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below, as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And yes, if he somehow signs a contract next season with, say, San Jose or somebody else, then I do another career video on him at a later date. But I think it's pretty safe to assume that at this stage, his playing days are behind him, and he probably has a long career ahead of him in the front office. But let me know your thoughts. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.